Hi, thanks very much for visiting my CRM cafe today. My name's Vanessa Hunt, and I'm guessing that you've joined me here because you'd like to know more about how to best choose a CRM. If you want to choose CRM the easy way, then it's quite common for someone to ask, well, what CRM did you have at your last business? Most organisations have some form of system to help them manage their operations, their sales and their marketing, but that's not necessarily the best way to choose a CRM. There are many different ingredients when it comes to making a choice, and a lot of it comes down to the way that you're structured, your business model, what you have in terms of challenges within your organisation and the business processes that you follow. And so what works for one company doesn't necessarily mean that the same CRM system will work for you. It's really important to understand the culture that you're working in, because often people expect that technology is going to fix a lot of things for their business, but unless users adopt that CRM technology, then you're really wasting your money. So one of the things that it's important to do is get everybody on board and make sure that everybody has the same appetite for change, that everybody sees that there is potentially value in having a new CRM system. For the sales team, it might mean that they're going to have better visibility of the types of clients that they should prioritise. For sales operations, they might be able to smooth out their quote process, their order process. For marketing, it might mean that they have additional tools available to attract new business. But depending on where those challenges are in the organisation and what customers need from you, that's going to have an impact on how important it is for you to change. If you've only got a very small audience, perhaps one CEO who thinks CRM is a good idea, or one department that think it would be really valuable to have a new look at technology, then probably you'll find that you just don't get that momentum that you need to introduce a new system. So one thing that it's worth looking at is how ready are we as an organisation before we even start thinking about what we want our CRM to do. But how ready are we to actually get on board with this kind of project, allocate all of the appropriate resources to that project, and make sure that we really understand what we're looking for. And so before I even start working on requirements or analysing how an organisation will use their CRM, one of the first questions that I ask is, what are your degrees of readiness? Where is the need for change coming from? Is it something that's been dictated by a higher person in the organisation? Is there a compelling reason because of issues you've had in the past? Is it just that you want to improve your customer experience and you can see that your competitors are doing things that are different to you that are really helping them drive more business? So really it's about thinking what is the true value of what that system will do for us, and also what happens if we don't make any changes. So really understanding how many of those factors will help you make the change and help you discover what would be the real value of that CRM system. The benefits of capturing requirements is that actually it helps you with that team building element. It helps you see what are the different areas where this CRM will actually add more value. It allows users to say, this is what we need, these are the things that are dragging us down, and it really helps bring everybody together as a team and start getting into that mindset of how you might make big changes in your organisation. Because whatever you say, and I'm sure that many of us have worked at organisations that have had issues with CRM implementations in the past, whatever value they might bring, there are always things that go wrong. And so it's really important to understand, what those risks are in order to mitigate them upfront. Obviously, one of the key things is usually requirements analysis. So do we really know what we want the system to do? And is that going to be changing as we get through this implementation and as we start working on our design? So having to constantly recheck your requirements and make sure that they're still valid in an environment that's ever changing is very, very important. Other things that really make CRM implementations fail is when you don't have buy-in from above. And anybody that you work with on CRM will tell you the same. You have to have executive buy-in. but what does that actually mean and how does it manifest itself? And can that CEO or that senior management team get the rest of their team behind them and help drive that value through the project? So when you're looking at implementing a CRM system, before choosing, you really want to get those requirements specified, and it allows any user, no matter how big or how small, to give their voice to what they would like the new system to do. There are different levels of requirements analysis. So in very large implementations, of course, it's very usual to have massive business process workshops where you get everybody into rooms and you run workshops over months and months in order to get everything specified. In small to medium-sized organisations, you might not need that level of detail, but certainly you need at least some business process flows. And what those business process flows will help you see is, where are the handovers between different teams? Where are things getting stuck? Where are things taking too long? What are the things that might annoy our customer if we were on the other side? Business process flows are very visual. They allow you to see swim lanes of how people are working together, and they allow you to see how many communications you're sending internally or to your customers. So just by using a little bit of colour, using some structure, they really give you a map of what you're trying to define. And that's really something that allows you to have facts and objective information rather than getting lots of emotions in the way and teams pointing to one another about things that go wrong. So having those process flows, no matter what kind of software you use to depict them, it's just really, really helpful to have that as a starting point. And then the next level of detail that you would typically go down to is actually identifying each of the specific requirements that you have for each of the boxes on that process flow chart. And we often use terms in IT just to make it sound mysterious, but most of them are usually quite normal when you think about them. MOSCO is a strategy or technique that's used which just stands for must have, should have, could have, and will not have. And this is a really good way of looking at each of your individual requirements. What are the things that we really, really must have? Security, the ability to perform certain types of reporting, the ability to send certain types of communications. And what are the things that we should have? So in an ideal world, what would be the things that we really cannot do without? Could haves are those things that are on our wish list but not necessarily critical to the business. They might be things that we want to try out. They might be things that our competitors are doing and we want to test out too. And then will not have may mean we'll never have it, but usually it might mean we will not have it this time. We won't have it at this point in the process of the project, but it might be something that we look at in a next phase. And so by identifying whether your requirements are must-haves, should-haves or could-haves, or indeed will not haves, then it allows you to start seeing what's really important to each team. And usually you'll find that whether it's sales, marketing or service, there's definitely some overlap between those requirements, and it really helps you prioritize. It's not enough just to have your process flows and your requirements list. You also need to make sure that you're looking at other things around CRM, which are much more intangible, I would say. So, are you looking for a system that you will manage yourself? Or are you looking to outsource the management and support of that CRM solution? Are you looking for something that is, really quick to implement, or are you happy to wait for value to come later in order to maybe get down to another level of detail? Are you looking for a CRM solution that will just be in English, or is it going to be localized into many, many different languages, which might affect your choice of CRM solution depending on what they have available to you? And some organisations that I've worked with have really, focused right from the start and said, we don't want to do code, we don't want to write configurations, we just want to do point and click configuration, declarative programming we often refer to it as, because that allows business users to make changes themselves. So you might have a certain philosophy about the way that you want to implement your CRM system, and those kinds of dimensions and factors have to come into play as well. So it's the kind of integration of your processes, your specific requirements, and these CRM dimensions which will help you choose the right system for you. And yeah, as there always is, there are always new tools coming out every week, and I'm always looking for the latest and greatest tool to use in order to help me manage requirements better. Traditionally, most people will use an Excel spreadsheet to start with, but there are much more sophisticated RM tools available now. And RM simply stands for requirements management. So before you even choose your CRM system, you need to make sure that you've got a way of managing those requirements as well with your RM system. And it's really the devil in the detail. Often things will get forgotten or missed simply because we haven't had the conversation, or we've had some assumptions about the way that things will work because we had a particular CRM system in mind. And so RM solutions will allow you to make sure that every little nitty-gritty piece of detail is captured in your requirements, and that everybody has visibility of those. And you might start out with those requirements having equal weightings, but again, depending on your dimensions, your structure, your speed, your budget, you might have to prioritize some requirements over others. So actually writing the requirements and interviewing people to capture those requirements, or doing surveys, or whatever ways you use to capture the important things that you need your CRM system to do, that all really helps drive adoption. It gets people on board. It helps them think about what that vision of a new changed world is going to be. So it's quite an inspiring period of time. It should be quite exciting and get everybody excited about having your new system. So sometimes I'm asked, well, is it really valuable to do requirements analysis? Can't we just get going? We haven't got any time to lose, because often CRM systems are implemented when it's already too late, or when you already need it desperately. But I would always say that there is value in going a little bit slower. There is value in taking the time and spending some time with your users, asking questions, understanding their needs, because that's what's actually going to drive the adoption. And also it's going to help you see that when you implement your design, that it will work, that it will actually meet the requirements that you had, rather than skipping over things and then only finding out too late that the critical things that you need are missing. And when you go back to your business process flows, what you'll find is that there's often a very specific area of the organisation that needs fixing first. So it might be that you have a service team who are really overwhelmed by all of the inquiries coming through your website, all of the questions about products or services that you provide. Or it might be that you've got an issue with stock control and managing your suppliers. Or it could be that actually lead generation is an issue and you've got too many inquiries coming in and it's taking too long to follow up with those leads. So knowing where that sort of tricky area is really going to help you hone in on which CRM might be right for you too. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of CRMs to choose from, and some of them might be very, very similar to one another. So finding out where your real problem is will help you choose the heart, if you like, of the whole platform. And then build your other applications around it. So if you've got a financial system that that you can't get rid of, you have to work with Xero or QuickBooks or Sage or whatever it is, and that your real problem is in your service part of your organization, by choosing that service solution first and making sure that it integrates well with your financial system, that's going to naturally limit the choices that you have in terms of the right marketing or sales solution to go with it. So it's almost like working out all those different ingredients that you need to get the best solution for what you're trying to achieve. And sometimes you have to fail fast. It's worth trying out 2 or 3 different applications and finding out the things that they don't do very well. So taking maybe one of your most important processes and breaking down the fundamental parts of it and just doing a prototype. Working that solution through each of those different applications and seeing the area where it maybe takes longer than you would expect. And sometimes there isn't, a 100% solution if you don't have, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of pounds to spend on a CRM. There are going to be compromises along the way, but certainly by taking the time to test out your processes against a number of solutions, then you're likely to find one that fits you better. So when you start looking at your requirements and the resources available to you to work out which CRM system would be right for you, there are a number of shortcuts that you can take. Certainly there are review sites like G2, TrustRadius and others that will share the experiences of other organisations with certain CRM solutions. You can obviously talk to your peers, you can obviously think back to your own experiences in other organisations, but the key is that you're always going to be looking at that feedback and weighing it up against your own list of requirements. You can participate in webinars, you can test drive these solutions, so you can really get practical and you can put quite a lot of energy and time in before you even get to the point of having a shortlist. But it's really worth doing that. It's really worth taking the time to make sure that your solution that you find in the end is right for you. So the value of spending money upfront on your requirements analysis means that you're going to save in the long term. Having really clear requirements means that you know you don't need to bring across all of your legacy data necessarily. It means that you're going to be configuring accurately according to a solution design that meets your requirements. And it also means that when it comes to administration of that system and training your users, that you'll have really clear processes defined that make the training easier for you. So it's really about saving money and also making sure that culturally you are ready for change. So requirements is a really core component of any CRM project. So we've spent a few minutes talking about the value of finding the right requirements in order to choose your CRM. A CRM solution is intended to add value to your customer's experience. It's intended to help you run your business operations more smoothly and to help you find new customers who will enjoy working with you and help your business thrive and survive. Thanks very much for visiting my CRM cafe today. I hope you found it useful and it's given you some ideas to take back to your team. On my website, vanessahunt.co.uk, you'll find there are some one-page overviews that might give you a start to think about the kind of CRM solution that you might need. However, it's always easier to chat, and if you'd like to talk through some of your requirements, then you can drop me an email at vanessa@vanessahunt.co.uk, and we can then schedule a call to find out how to find the best CRM solution for your business.